All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Captain Gaurav Rana from Sea and Beyond, and welcome to this webinar on investment in maritime tech startup. Let me quickly first take a poll, uh, whether you can see the presentation and where did you hear the webinar from. And while you answer the poll question, we have three presenters today. We have Mr. Anil Taneja, who is from a venture capitalist fund, and he's managing partner, operating partner in one of the companies which manages about 200 million of growth stage fund. We also have Captain Dhruv Sawhney, who's the torchbearer of maritime entrepreneurs in India, and he's the person who if I may call him a serial entrepreneur as well, who started a couple of companies. He's successfully also taken funding. And we also have Dr. Dharmesh Raval from Gujarat Maritime University. And we have him specifically because uh, we talk about entrepreneurship. We know what's happening probably in other industry which gets highlighted, but maritime industry, the entrepreneurs or whatever is happening doesn't get highlighted, so we don't hear it in the newspapers. But Dr. Dharmesh will essentially talk about the ecosystem, how it is currently, how it's developing, what GMU is doing to enhance the development. So that's the reason why Dr. Dharmesh is here. Welcome all three of you, and of course to all the participants as well for joining in. Thank you. We'll have a few polls coming in as well, so I encourage all of you to answer the polls. It helps us to get the feedback and then improve us in the other webinars or during the webinar as well. So I've got about 77% of you who have voted till now. I encourage more people to vote, but as I see, almost everyone can see the presentation. Yeah, end the poll and we move to the next slide. All right. What's the agenda of this webinar? So this is more of an educational webinar wherein we talk about investing. Many of us would have heard about angel investment. Do we know what is it all about? Many of us may want to invest in startups. Do we know how to invest? Is it safe? If at all, how much of our portfolio should be in the startups? What are the benefits that we could get? And maritime, of course, is something which we understand better. So for us, probably evaluating a maritime tech startup or a maritime startup is much more easier than evaluating any other startup. So we talk about, or Captain Dhruv talks about his journey on how he started, and the focus of his journey would be investments that he has taken. And then, as I said, Dr. Dharmesh will talk about the entrepreneurial ecosystem in India as such. And yeah, I guess this is from me, and I'll hand over the platform to Mr. Anil Taneja now. And Mr. Anil Taneja is an operating partner with Venture Capital and vice president with Venture Catalyst Group. He's an expert in the field of management consulting, SME development, startup advisory, venture capital, and he's in his firm he's managing about 200 million of investment. And so, Mr. Taneja, I'll leave the platform to you for maybe telling a bit about more about yourself and guiding us on how do we do the investments, or how an angel investment or how an investment is done in startups, please. Over to you, Mr. Taneja. You're on mute.
Thank you, Captain Gaurav. I'm privileged to be invited by you for presenting. And yes, as you told, I am part of the ecosystem, startup ecosystem in India, and I belong to one of the group which is first India's multi-stage venture capital, concern in India, Venture Catalyst. I'm partner there in the fund called Elevate, which is $200 million fund focused on growth and late growth stage companies in technology sector. And I'm also mentoring on various platforms like IIMs and IITs and many more institutions. And I'm consulting uh, corporates also, primarily into funding and financing, being part of the venture capital ecosystem. So, as you told, the agenda of today's know, webinar is to make your audience aware about how the angel investment works. Right, that is the agenda that you have given me to put across, and also how shipping industry can benefit from this. Now, I would like to share a presentation. Uh,
Please go ahead. Please go ahead. So before you share your presentation, let me take a poll on from the audience in terms of, do they have any experience in investment into business ventures? So let's just see the background of the audience. How many have done it? How many have thought of it? And how many probably would want to do it, right? So what's why is the audience here? Let's take this poll and we'll understand their perspective as well.
so most of the people are interested, aspiring, but they don't know.
Correct.
54%, 55%, 25% are those who never thought of it. He has given a loan to friends, and some of it, okay, 14% have already become part of it, the investment ecosystem indirectly,
Right.
and 10% are actively in. Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's quite a good number.
Absolutely. I think 23% people who are investing already directly or indirectly in a business that's
Yeah, overall 35% are involved in the ecosystem, directly or indirectly. Directly 10%, 9%. Okay, that's really great. That's amazing.
absolutely
You
right.
know, in India, how many angel investors are there? Hardly active angel investors, about 30,000. That's all. And how many audience are there in this webinar?
So far we've got about 70 odd people.
Okay, that's great. All maritime people?
More or less, at least I think about 85% are with maritime background, with sailing background, and rest with non-sailing background. So let me just take that poll as well on how many are from a sailing background as well.
Hmm.
All right, while I take this poll, Mr. Taneja, you may start your presentation as well.
Yeah. Okay. So when we talk about angel investment, it's essentially not only an investment, it is a involved investment. Angel means, you participate into the journey somewhere or the other, directly, indirectly, helping the founder to, in his entrepreneurial journey. So that is why it is called angel. One, because and second, because they are entering at the very early stage, at the seed stage itself, at the family and friends round, the angel investment starts. So that itself makes them, acronym is very suitable for them to helping the entrepreneurs to start their journey.
Do you want to have a full screen for the presentation, Mr. Taneja?
Yeah, it should be. I think I'll just take it down to this. Yeah. So I have titled it as Angel Investing in Gen X, Enabling Bharat Nirman. Bharat Nirman is important because India is zooming ahead, in the ecosystem, in global ecosystem. We are number three as far as startup ecosystem is concerned after US and China, but we are growing fastest. compared to all these three companies, three industry countries. And government is, fortunately giving quite a good impetus to this ecosystem, especially in shipping industry now, which had been, lagging behind till now in startup ecosystem. Now the mission of government of India in maritime industry is that they want by 2047, the India wants to be a capital of maritime shipping industry in the world. As of now, we are hardly anywhere close to that. Dominating players are China, Japan, and South Korea. But India now, because contributes about 70% of trade, global trade in shipping industry is, somewhere or the other connected with India. So India has taken a very very conscious decision to tap into this potential which had been untapped till now by allocating about 80 lakh crores of funds. Budgeting has been earmarked for maritime industry. Of this, about 25,000 crores has been provisioned for funding for the company for the entrepreneurial developments in the industry. So that is a quite a good indication that quite a good time also for entrepreneurs to get into the entrepreneurial journey in shipping industry, and it's at apt time because I see in shipping industry the modernization, the modern technology adoption had been lagging behind till now. Digitization has not happened that much. Very conventional way of shipping that what my perception is. I'm not sure whether I'm correct or not, but my friends tell me this only that a very conventional way of doing business is happening in shipping industry till now. But now, as India is focused to become a leader in the global ecosystem and tap into the untapped potential that we have, it's a very good time for entrepreneurs to get into it and grab all the opportunities and resources offered to the industry in Indian ecosystem. Uh, let's talk about Indian startup ecosystem. As of now, as I told you, it's the third largest in the world, and 1.8 lakh startups in India by 2030 are expected. As of now, we have about 1.2 lakh startups, and 117 are the unicorns, and quite a good money is pouring into the startup ecosystem by global players. The funds that we talk about. Uh, $150 billion of funding is which has been raised, and there is a dry powder which is much more than this, which is there. Dry powder means which the funds which are committed to Indian ecosystem but are not been utilized. Hardly 10% of it has been utilized till now, and there is lot which is happening in terms of value creation for the investors, which like it is telling that 1.3 thousand exits and mergers and acquisitions happening, which is the exit point for the investors to make their multiply their monies. So as exit happens, the investor gets its money multiplied, returned to it. So we don't talk over here in terms of internal rate of return. We talk about multipliers here. This is very unique about startup ecosystem investments. 9.5 thousand active startup investors are there. This is an old figure. We have now 20, more than 30,000, not 9,000, to more than 30,000. Uh, Total startup investments. So this is now which are the sectors booming as of now in India are fintech, entrepreneur tech, e-commerce. 52% count that because every sector there is e-commerce, which was the gap in the e-commerce, gap in the enterprise tech, which is being fulfilled now. And fintech is one of the globally biggest area of startup ecosystem growth, and fintech becomes anyways part of every sector adoption of financial technologies. Then seed stage funding is growing fastest in India as of now, because we started late, but we are growing fastest. And AI and new age technologies, AI, Gen AI, and the computer, quantum computing is coming up, and a lot of IoT and all these technologies are seeping into the ecosystem, and that is what is creating entrepreneurial opportunities into the Indian startup ecosystem. Uh, the future of AI is telling is about $17 billion plus market opportunity awaiting in India. By 2030, we are expecting market opportunity to grow by that level. And so just to give you an idea of the how AI is becoming very important recently, in Mukesh Ambani and Nvidia's founder, they were sitting and chatting over the on a social platform, and they have together come up together to give a boost to Indian AI ecosystem. So just have a look at it, what they are saying. Is the video visible?
No, Anil. I think we'll have to share another window.
Is it audible?
No, it's not.
Uh,
India has.
is it
One of the things that I
audible
want
now?
to announce
Is it
Now
audible?
it's audible.
Okay.
Yeah.
with you. As you know, in order to lead in artificial intelligence, you need to have AI model technology that India has. You need to have data, massive quantities of data, and using the last thing you need is AI infrastructure. And we're announcing that Reliance and NVIDIA are partnering to build AI infrastructure here in India.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I want to announce with you, as you know, in order to lead in artificial intelligence, you need to have.
This is something very important which has happened. I mean, my screen.
Anil, we can't see the video, but I guess we have about 10 to 12 minutes, about maximum 15 minutes of your presentation remaining. So you want to have
Okay.
the video, or you want to?
So my screen is visible. The PPT is
Your
visible.
PPT is visible, not the video though.
Okay. So I just wanted to give you an idea how the things are developing in India. AI now, Nvidia is how big this company is. It is $3.4 trillion net worth company, which is equivalent to India's GDP. That is a big that big is a company. So they are tying up with Mukesh Ambani to give boost to AI. So these new technologies are inevitable for any organization or any start ecosystem, the sector of industry to adopt to. Otherwise, they will be lagging behind. They will be wiped off from the ecosystem. So now, why angel invest? So this is a new age industry participation by the investors. Investors, like I told you, that anybody who is you know uh, want to be part of the ecosystem, the new age ecosystem, they have to become invested into this ecosystem. Otherwise, they will be crawling in terms of returns on their investments, because over a period of time, rest everything is not going to give them that much of returns, as far as investment options are concerned, as much this new age ecosystem. Because the kind of growth that you see, the companies like Zepto, 21 years old guy, has become $1 billion company in 2.5 years time. That is supported. Why such a young guy has become a $1 billion company founder? Because entrepreneurial development is now very structured. It's not the Adit, the founder of Zepto. It's his capacity, his bandwidth alone, his capability alone. It's the ecosystem who is coming together to build such entrepreneurs. And today, if you talk about globally, there are about out of 500 top companies of the world, 40% plus are from the new age business. That means these 40% plus companies are less than 15 to 20 years old. That simply means new age business is taking over the old age business. 50, 60 years back, the business life cycles used to be anything between 50 to 60 years. Today, the business life cycles have shrunk down to hardly 15, 20 years, right? That means any business you start today, its life cycle is 15, 20 years, unless and until you adopt to the new age technologies, new age way of doing businesses and all. So that is why corporates are getting into, synergizing with the startup ecosystem. They are plugging into the startup ecosystem. A lot of mergers and acquisitions are happening where the corporates are acquiring companies from the startup ecosystem, because they know that you have to participate in the new age business, otherwise they will lag behind. So to participate in the new age business as an investor, this is an opportunity. And here we talk about not internal rate of returns, we talk about the multipliers. Because initially, when you invest into a new company, the valuations are not that big. But starting from 0 to 10, the growth rate is tremendous. The money multiplies, literally multiplies. For example, Bharat Pay, which is one of the portfolio companies of my group, where I belong to, the investors got 250 times returns of their monies. That means if they have invested a lakh of rupees, that has become 2 crore 50 lakh rupees in 2.5 years time. That is the kind of growth we talk about for investors' money in this. That is, of course, an exceptional figure, but yes, it can be, on an average, an angel investor expects at least 3 to 5x in 3 to 5 years time, minimum. If that doesn't happen, that is a failure of investment. You know. So as an investor, angel investor, you have an opportunity not only to be invested as a passive investor, you have opportunity to be participant into the new age entrepreneurial journey by way of an advisor or a board member or a mentor or a partner with the firm or whatever way. So if you want to be an angel celebrity, that is also very much possible. It's an apt time for you to be that. Now, just to give you an idea how the angel investors are, reaping fruits. OYO, for example, in 2014, seed investment was done. Investors invested in the 2014. Today, in 1 year's time, their money became 250x. As of now, it is 3000x in 10 years' time, right? Similarly, in Ola, it became 170 times in 3 years' time. Karima was Indian, origin company, 250x in 7 years' time. Flipkart, 6 years' time, 120x. BharatPay, as I told you, 197x in 2.5 years' time. Today it stands about 1300x as of now. So, what are the check points? What, as an angel investor, what you have to see? As I told you, this is the most happening time. Is the beginning of the ecosystem. We only have 117 unicorns, and um, uh, we are growing very, very fast. 43% of the Fortune 100 companies in 2018 were less than 10 years old. More than 70% of the Fortune 100 companies in 2030 will be less than 10 years old. That means literally top companies, majority will be of new age companies. So you want to participate in that, then this is a platform to invest into these companies today. And as I told you, the business life cycles are very short, 10 to 15 years, 15 years or so. So inevitably, the growth rate has to be that kind, the multipliers. Now, this I've already told you all. Now, what are the different stages of the startup ecosystem? The angel investors are in the early stages. When a company starts its journey at $0 valuation, pre-state, seed stage, when they have just an idea, the angel investors start investing into it. And as they start, earning revenues, the money starts multiplying. Because new investors are invited to invest into it. Venture capital firms, there are more than 2,500 in venture capital firms in India today, and they are also growing very fast. In China, there are about more than 7,000-8,000 VC firms. So India is also gearing up to gain that kind of number in the startup ecosystem over here. So there are investors at every stage available in the startup ecosystem. So for an investor who is entering at the early stage, exits can be expected in a 3 to 4 years time, maximum 5 years time, in the early stage investments. And as we move on from seed stage to series A to series B, series C, every 15 to 20 months, there is a new round of raise happening in the startup ecosystem entrepreneurs. So opportunity actually is coming in every 15 to 20 months of time in any startup for getting your money back. Uh, but ideally, it has to be 3 to 5 years minimum that you should stay put into it. Now, what are the valuations of the companies? Say today, if we are standing at zero valuation idea stage, and by the time it reaches mature stage of venture capital firms to start putting money into it, the valuation is anything between $1 to $3 million. That means 0 to $1 to $3 million. You can imagine by the time professional VC firms come into picture, angel investing platforms come into picture, the money becomes 3 to 5x minimum. That is in 3 to 5 years time maximum. So this is the kind of opportunity. Of course, there is a risk involved. Risk is biggest risk is if you directly come in contact with the founder and you find it appealing and you invest into it. That is the most risky aspect of startup ecosystem investment, because the startup is not curated by the professionals. If you are in one-to-one touch with the founder and you are deciding to invest into it, that means you're bypassing all the due diligence which a professional startup ecosystem investor platform is going to do. There are about more than 20-30 parameters on which every entrepreneur enterprise is assessed on, which includes founders due diligence, product due diligence, market due diligence, the technology due diligence, legal due diligence, and all these things are done by the professionals who are investing into or helping the angel investors to choose a company to invest in. So these companies are curated by professionals. So when you invest into a curated platform as an angel investor, your risk is further reduced. So, for example, if you talk about overall ecosystem, startup ecosystem, the success ratio is hardly 10% of the startups succeed. Out of these 10%, 1 or 2% becomes home run. That means they are potentially the unicorns, right? But when we talk about the curated startups, for example, Venture Catalyst is the platform where I belong to. There, uh, they have invested in about 350 odd companies, and their success ratio is about 83%. That is the difference between a curated platform investment and directly an investor investing into the startup on his own. So this is what makes a big difference. Uh, so as I told you, the average minimum expectation that an investor has at seed stage is about 19% IRR. Growth stage is about 13% IRR. That is minimum expected. And late stage is about this is something not correct over here. Okay. Now, just to tell you about new age business traits, key traits, how do you define a startup as startup? It has to be a new age business where it has to have a digital DNA. It has to have a platform based approach. That means, they have a digital platform to do business on. It's a new way of doing business, basically. Like taxis were already running into the Indian ecosystem, but Ola came in with a platform. That is a platform approach. Now that gives you a network effect. It gives you multi-sided markets. Accessibility, low margin cost. The digitization and technology brings efficiency and productivity. So marginal, costs are reduced. Scalability is very high when we talk about the platform approach. Data driven decision making happens. So all the what is required to enhance the efficiency, productivity, speed of the growth of the company is with this kind of approach. Uh, this is about the new age business that we talk about, not a conventional business. Now, just to give you how these new age businesses like Nvidia is already $3.47 trillion market capitalization. Meta 947 billion dollars market capitalization. These are all new age business. Tesla $843 billion market capitalization. So these are new age businesses, hardly 20, 25, 30 years old companies, right? They're leading the global ecosystem. Reliance in India is already $17 trillion market capitalization among the Fortune 500 companies. These are conventional businesses. Whereas you look at Zomato or Swiggy or Nykaa, new age businesses, they are standing much ahead of these conventional businesses like ONGC and Reliance. Zomato is already $27 billion market capitalization. Swiggy $13 billion. Nykaa. So if you participate as an investor into these new age businesses, you can imagine the growth, right? So it is become very essential for the investors to invest into new age business, part of their portfolio. Ideally, we say 15 to 20% at least you should invest. But there are people who only invest in startup ecosystem. Those who have got the taste of it, they are investing only and only into the startup ecosystem. The kind of growth this system is giving is like Tesla in 5 years' time, 2003 to 2008. In 7 years' time, it became unicorn. General Motor, a conventional business company, became a unicorn. 100 years. It took 100 years for it to become a $50 billion company. And Tesla has become $500 billion company in 17 years. That is a difference. So if you're investing in stocks of these conventional business, or you're investing in the modern new age businesses, this is the difference. So you have to participate in this if you really want to be a mainstream investor into the ecosystem. This again is showing how investors got their returns. In 6 years they got 50x, in 7 years 125x. Tesla investors, in 11 years their money became 200x, and those who stay put for 11 years, they got 200 times of their money given back to them. Similarly, Infosys, these are the figures you can even check on internet. uh, this is just to give you an idea how the new age business gives the returns. So India is growing very, very fast, and Indian ecosystem is being boosted by government of India also. And we are adding 7.6 India economy equivalent, in 20 by 2030. That actually, uh, the targets of the aspirations of Indian government and Indian economists who are on the front runner, strategic leaders of the economy. Their targets are much bigger than this. But we are growing at this. Now, how do you invest into angel investment? What is the way? First of all, you need to, it's difficult for a layman to, uh, you know, find out opportunities in the ecosystem. So who will be there to give you opportunities will be platforms like, early stage investment venture capital firms. So you become member with them, or I have a company, a platform that is ATM Ventures, where we are, scouting for opportunities across the Indian ecosystem and presenting. Now we are focusing on startup ecosystem in the maritime also. So we already have Indian Maritime Exchange as our company, where we are offering opportunity to our investors uh, in the seed round of 3 crores that we will share with you very soon. And now, first hurdle is to find out which is the companies, which are the opportunities available. Second is, how do I invest into it? That is again a question, where to connect with, and what are the ways to invest into it. There are a lot of compliances required. And uh, then this is the process. Normally we uh, find them, the companies, we screen them, then we pitch it to the investors of our network, and we do due diligence of these companies in terms of assessing whether they are long term players or not, whether they have the bandwidth to grow unicorns or not. Then we syndicate with other investors into the ecosystem, and by negotiating investments and valuations part on behalf of investors, we help the investment happen into these companies. Uh, so this is all about how the sourcing is done, how we select companies. For example, in Venture Catalyst, early stage funding platform, the about 200 to 300 companies are assessed every month. Out of that, 8 to 10 are only selected for investment for their investors. Then the compliances part, term sheets are issued, cap table, how it is to be formed, valuation, how the valuation is to be done. That all part a layman investor won't be understanding. So we intervene as professionals to help investors, put their money into these cap tables of the startup entrepreneurs. So exit opportunities for the investors, how do they get money multiplied, and when it is happening? So ultimate exit for the startups is at IPO, which happens in anything 9 to 10 years time. But before that, every 15 to 20 months, as I told you, there is a new round of funding coming, new investors, set of investors is coming in. So existing investors can sell their stake to the new investors that we facilitate at ATM Ventures, the platform like ATM Ventures. So this is, so how do we evaluate the companies? That is a very professional way of doing it. So we do that. That is also uh, as we're short of time, so there are concepts I'm talking about over here. Uh, how do we select companies? So basic criteria is, to understand whether there is monopolization. If you look at any successful companies like Gillette, for example, they have monopolized their product. There is nobody standing around them. Similarly, any industry you look at, there'll be top players who will be grabbing the majority market share into the ecosystem. So that monopolistic effect has to be there potentially into that idea or a new enterprise. Team has to be very strong. That there has to be a cohesiveness of what kind of founders, what kind of bandwidth that they have. Today, you see in the new age businesses, gone are the days when person who is not very literate can become an entrepreneur, big time entrepreneur. Today you see most of the entrepreneurs are literate entrepreneurs. They are very well strongly educated entrepreneurs. So what is the quality of entrepreneur founders required? What is the cohesiveness of the founders team that is required, that we see into? And is it the right timing? As I told you, shipping industry is the very right time for the new enterprise to start developing the new age businesses. Technologies assessment has to be done. How they are going to distribute their product or services across globe, scalability will be important to assess. Durability of the product, whether any entrepreneur which has started the idea which is there, will it be defendable for 10 to 20 years or not? These are the kind of assessments that we do and help the investors to choose, offer this kind of opportunities, curated opportunities. Now, what are the risks involved? If we talk about failure, most of the failures happen because of the market, lack of market understanding. So idea might be very very glamorous, but if it doesn't have a proper market need assessed for it, it can be a failure. That is the highest number of failures happen because of that. And then if the startup is not being supported by the startup ecosystem in terms of funding, uh, that is where the professional like ours who come into picture, where we help them be attractive to the investors every stage of their journey. Every 15 to 20 months they have to have a raise done, because any investor will invest into a startup with a investment period, tranche of investment to be given to them for 15 to 20 years, 20 months, so that they can prove that this milestone of the company is achieved. Once that milestone is achieved, then the next round will happen. So every round, so that has to be tracked and that has to be supported by us in terms of resource alignment, network effect that we have to generate for that startup. So it's not the solo journey of the entrepreneur; it is the complete ecosystem supporting them, aligning resources with them. The team is very very important. 23% of the startups fail because of the bandwidth or the cohesiveness of the team. So these are the factors that are considered while assessing a startup and help them to mitigate their risk by working on these factors. So these are some of the factors we assess companies on. You know, business model क्या है, innovation क्या है, legal state sustenance क्या है, what are the regulatory aspects in the long run. Like cryptocurrency might be very bad bet for as far as regulatory risk is concerned. Then the unit what do you call, how are their finances, how are their balance sheet made, what is the unit economics, that all has to be taken into consideration. So there are so many minimum 22 factor parameters that we assess the companies on. And then what are the musts for an angel investor? So you know product is not at its face value. Like, you find some product very glamorous, very attractive, that alone it's not sufficient. Suppose your market need is not good enough for this product, that will fail. Most of the founders will come up with exclusivity claims that this is the only one idea in the entire world. And then background check has to be done for these the founders. So these are the some of the curation process that we take into consideration while investing into the new age new entrepreneurs. So if you just to give you a returns factor, seed funds have given IRR of about 22% average. VC funds have given 18%. Similarly, the if you compare it with the standard, equity investments in S&P and Nasdaq, etc., it's about 14 to 13% annualized return. So these returns are much higher than the conventional investment options that you have. So this is what I have as of now for because time, Captain Gaurav, you have given me very short time, so I've just given an overview of what angel investment is all about. Yeah. Any questions? I'll be more than happy to address. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much, Anil, for your time, and it was a good presentation. I understand the time was less, but we wanted to cover up everything in about an hour or so. So a very comprehensive presentation where you tried to cover up, the context, how are in the startups doing, what is required to become an angel, what's the process, how do you do the due diligence and all. So I think there are a few questions, and I'm sure there will be more questions which will be coming up, but we'll take the questions at the end.
Okay.
At this stage, let me welcome Captain Dhruv Sawhney. So I'm sure most of you would have heard of him, wouldn't know him. He's a dear friend. He's the torchbearer for maritime entrepreneurs in India. This is his second company. He's a mariner. He's started a technology company without having any background or as far as I know, not much of a background in technology. He's taken investments not only in India, from outside. So, I mean, he's kind of inspiration not only to me but to a lot of people in the maritime industry in terms of what he has done, how he has done, and where he's taking the entire industry to. I leave it to you now, Dhruv, to talk. I mean, you can talk a lot about this, but maybe a focus over here is two things where I request you to probably guide the audience on. Number one, how did you start this? And second is, I mean, the way your startup is, it requires a good cash flow. Building a technology platform requires a lot of investment. So how did you go about taking the investments from the seed to where you are now, and your advice to the prospective investors? Over to you, Dhruv.
Thanks, Gaurav, for all the kind words. I'm very certain that a lot of and most of the people would not know about me, neither my company, but it's very kind of you to say what you just said. I think it was a very nice presentation by Mr. Anil Taneja. He covered most of the things that I would have ideally liked to, mention, but I'm sure with the experience that he has with dealing with n number of startups and their founders and knowing their problems day in day out. He was the right person to actually share those points. Before I start on what we have actually done with regards to it in raising money for Shipskart, let me just briefly share a bit about myself. As Gaurav mentioned, I am a former seafarer. Started my career, as a cadet, went on to sail as a captain. Total spent about 14 years at sea, and in in 2013, I started a crew management company. Now that's old school business, so you don't require funds really. So continued the company for about 10 years before I moved on. And in 2020, in 2017, we incorporated Shipskart. Shipskart essentially is the Amazon for the maritime industry. For people who are not from the maritime domain, as Mr. Taneja also mentioned, we are about 30 years behind the any other industry. We are a very traditional industry. So, but the good part is that maritime industry is at the cusp of digitalization. So it's right, it's the right time to be there in terms of providing what do you say providing solutions to your to the various challenges that exist in the industry. So Shipskart is essentially the Amazon for the maritime industry. 95% of procurement is still done on Excel sheets and PDFs. So what we are trying to do is to digitalize the entire end-to-end procurement cycle, where we provide a comprehensive catalog, where we integrate our platform with various ERP service providers, and we also own and operate warehouses in India. India is a strategic market for us, right? So this is in short what we do here at Shipskart. Now, coming back to the point of investments, first, it's very important to know why do we need to raise investments. There are companies like Zoho and Zerodha who have never raised money, but they've still went on to become unicorns. I think the idea of today's Gen Z, which includes me also, is that success, we actually collate success with raising investment. So these are two very different things. You should raise money only if you require money, and if you raise money, do remember that raising money means that you need to show exponential growth in your company. So you cannot be raising money and fighting for survival. So if you're raising money, you need to show 3x, 2x, 4x growth in your company year on year. So raising of money also comes with investment. As I mentioned that success cannot be, you cannot correlate success with investment. So whenever somebody congratulates me that, oh, you raised money, and I was just talking to somebody else also who's also part of the maritime industry, possibly the biggest name when it comes to startups in our Indian maritime industry, and he told me this exactly the same thing, that Dhruv, it's not my success that I've raised money, because you have companies like Nautilus Labs, a case in point. Nautilus Labs was possibly the first company in the maritime segment which actually raised money. They raised about $2 million back in 2016, I think, or 17. And then they raised $50 million from various investors, and Microsoft was one of the lead investors at that time. And I've actually met the founders also in Posidonia a few years back. And guess what? The company was sold off for $5 million, last year, right? So somebody who's raised close to $52 million, the company was sold off for 5 million. So how much money has actually, how much of investors' money has gone to the bin? So do not equate, raising money with investment. Second thing, when I started off Shipskart, I remember once Googling, maritime, investors who fund maritime startups. I put this line on in Google, and I came across a link which mentioned about this accelerator called PortExcel. So PortExcel was possibly that time the only company which actually invested in maritime startups. It was a Netherlands-based accelerator program where you have to go to Netherlands for 3 months. They will look after your they will invest in cash and also in kind. So they will total invest about 100,000 euros in you, most of it in kind, and about 15,000 euros in cash. So that cash actually helped you stay in Rotterdam for the next 4 months when you're actually learning how to run a startup, because startup just does not include knowing it is beyond your vision. You just, when you start a company, you only know that I want to be here, one day, this is what I want to create. But there are a lot of nuances that you need to know. I remember not knowing anything about finance, right? Not knowing anything about EBITDA and these term sheets. I mean, like most of you, I am also a seafarer, never, very limited exposure to the outside world. So did not know any of these terminologies, right? So what these accelerator programs do, they give you a crash course in how to run your startup. So which was very good. And they scout startups from around the globe. So it's not that Indian startups cannot go, or they're only looking for European startups. No, Port Excel is still there. So if you have a good idea, feel free to pitch to them. So that's where our journey started. Then we came back to India, and survival was a challenge that time, right? Because when you're part of the maritime industry, I remember writing on my diary that this is the amount of money that I'll require to stay home for 12 to 18 months, and by 12 to 18 months I'll be able to do this and earn that much money. But those plans never work. Really, they don't work. So the money was finished in 6 months, and we needed to obviously have some money invested in the company for business development, for hiring some people. Being a technology company, we had to spend a lot of money on technology, and we did not have anybody we knew that time who could be the CTO. So we outsourced technology, one of the biggest blunders that we had done that time, right? So the best and the easiest way to take money in your company is through angel investment. And when I say angel investment is, I mean, taking money from friends and family. It's the easiest thing to do, right? But obviously it comes with big repercussions also, because if you're taking money from your family, you can have sour relationships if the company goes bust. So with friends also, you can ruin your friendships because you were not in a position to return back that investment, or you could not keep your promise of doubling or tripling their money. So, but it's the easiest way, and you should always give this disclaimer to your friends and family that only invest if you have extra money. Not that you're dependent on this money for survival, and you want a 2x or 3x return, and that's why you're investing. So always tell them that this money might not come back to you. And I remember talking to my founders and telling them that we will use only this. So we raised close to about 100,000 US dollars, 125,000 US dollars from friends and family, and primarily from friends who were part of the maritime industry. All of them were part of the maritime industry, so they knew what we are trying to build. And I remember that once the money hit our account, there was this huge pressure on my shoulders, thinking that they've invested their hard-earned money on me, primarily because they were my friends, and maybe on the idea also. But there was this pressure that I have to perform, and we have to work really hard. And I also remember talking to my founders, my friends, telling them that this money we will not use for our salaries. We will use this money only for business expansion. So we might have a next few months, troublesome months, but we will not use this money on our salaries. We will use this for only business expansion. Salaries will come from the profits that we generate. So yes, we were able to tide over that time, and grow the company bit by bit. And then then the turning point came in 2020, when we raised our pre-series A investment of about 225,000 US dollars. It might sound very less, about 1.5 crore rupees only, but trust me, it was a big amount that time for us. I mean, I was over the moon, thinking that a VC actually has invested in us. It was a company called Betatron, which was Singapore and Hong Kong based, and they were venturing into the maritime industry. Now they also were similar to Port Excel, wherein they invested in you, and they also had these 3.5 months of classes. They're pitching, they're making you understand how to pitch. They are connecting you with investors. They are, giving you knowledge about these terminologies that I was talking about. A lot of knowledge on the investment part, also finance part also. So yeah, that again 3.5 months we were working with them, and so we used again that money for growth. And I think that the biggest turning point was in 2021. And I just did an interview a few weeks back, where I said, the power of LinkedIn is, it cannot be measured. The power, never underestimate LinkedIn, because if you look at today's scenario, there are close to about 400-500 odd maritime startups, right? So there are close to 400-500 maritime startups, and there would be close to 50 odd VCs who are only investing in maritime. I'm talking about maritime in focused VCs. So companies like Motion Ventures, VCs like Motion Ventures, which are Singapore-based VC, their LPs include the likes of Williamson, Stolt Nielsen, MOL, and Synergy, and you name the big companies. All of them have put in money in Motion Ventures, and they they invest that money in startups. So the scenario has completely changed. You don't have to Google anymore, and if you Google also, you'll get more than 20 links of who the maritime investors are. So I think it's a very good time to be in this industry. So I was telling about how we raised our Series A. We raised close to $3.5 million in our Series A investment, and we were valued at somewhere around, last valuation was about $30 million that time. And so yeah, so our lead investor was a company called TMV, which is a US based venture capitalist fund, VC. And the founder of TMV, Marina, very closely knows the maritime industry. Her family owns this company called Dorian LPG. And Motion Ventures was again another VC who invested in us. Then we had the Vami Capital, that's the family fund of Shreya Shipping and Transworld Group. Then we also had Alliance Offshore, Mr. Murli Krishna, who invested in us. So most of them were strategic investors who actually knew what we were doing. But as I said, that people are VCs are very open to investing in the maritime industry. So sky is the limit in this case also. So we raised that money. In terms of the growth that we got from the investment, for the last 4 years consecutively, we had about 70% increase in our sales year on year. So we were actually doubling, were about 70 to 80% higher than our previous years. We became a company which started off with 3 founders to about 95 odd people this year. And we've got warehouses pan India, from Gujarat to Mumbai to Chennai, to have a corporate office in Noida, and to have an office in Cochin. Plus, we've done close to 100 crores of sales last year. So I think only advice that I can give you guys is that perseverance is the key. I think if you believe in the idea, if you think that this is a necessity, this is a real big challenge in the maritime industry, just keep on doing it. Find some money, for your survival, and your time will come. So that's all I can say. Everybody's time comes, and your time will also come. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Dhruv. I think, like me, I'm sure most of the other participants are spellbound, inspired by your journey. And I think we should do a full-fledged webinar one with you as well. And
Absolutely.
so happy to see your growth and the way you are taking things forward. And I'm sure in the next few years it will be one of the biggest names around the world, and not only the maritime tech space, but overall as well.
Thank you,
So
Gaurav. Thank you.
all the best to
I'll
you.
give you free equity if that happens.
And thank you so much. I am recording this, by the way.
Sure. I've said this to a couple of other people also, so they always tell me to, give them this in writing. So,
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Dhruv. Then
thank you. Thanks.
I have Dr. Dharmesh Raval now. So Dr. Dharmesh is working with Gujarat Maritime University. He's done his research on entrepreneurship, and now his focus is on the maritime industry. So from him, what we'll understand is that how is the current ecosystem in India in terms of the maritime entrepreneurship. He has some data also for it. And then what Gujarat Maritime University, what they plan to do in the next year or so in terms of enhance maritime entrepreneurship, and what are the areas that he feels will have better growth. So thank you, Dr. Dharmesh, for being here, and over to you now.
I hope the screen is visible.
Yeah, we can hear you as well. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much. Yeah, so it was yeah, thanks for having me here, and it was a pleasure listening to Captain Dhruv, and it was inspirational to listen a lot of real life success that he has achieved, and it was also interesting to listen to Mr. Anil Taneja. Yeah, so from practice to policy, I would say in a short, I'm given 10-15 minutes. I will try to speak, on the policy initiatives with reference to the maritime ecosystem in India. So yeah, I have got some experience in terms of designing courses in entrepreneurship, doing some research in entrepreneurship. But what I understand from all this is there are a lot of contribution from the ecosystem that a startup is present into. So they contribute to a great extent, although maritime sector is truly a global industry. So in that perspective, uh, probably we should have ecosystem in entire world. But if if India as a country has to get contribution from maritime sector, then India's maritime startup ecosystem has to flourish. So uh, uh, I would just like to connect, between why are we talking about startup ecosystem, why it's so important. So when any country is interested in economic development, it has to take industry into the consideration, and industry can only contribute to the economic development if there is a strong startup ecosystem in any country. We just got to know from the expert speakers that today we are talking about new age companies, and these new age companies are technology driven companies. So when we talk about startups, we essentially talk about those startups which are technology driven, and to that I would like to add is which have brought some innovation with them. So basically, a startup is a new venture which talks about something new, which addresses some bigger problems with an innovation, and also with use of some technology. So and when we talk about economy, our country has got a nice vision in terms of how the economy should be shaped up. Specifically for maritime sector, we have a Maritime Amritkal Vision 2047, which talks about how maritime sector can contribute to the economic development. So just setting a base to what ecosystem needs to do. We all understand that how maritime sector has evolved, how it has changed. Now we all know that how we need a lot of technology interventions, specifically when we talk about technology. We refer to them as artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, etc. So the evolution of the in the maritime sector has resulted in the need for the required capabilities across its value chain, and so the entire innovation ecosystem, has to be in line with that requirement. So to understand more about it, let us take a small example of Singapore. So Singapore's maritime innovation ecosystem comprises, of a platform which brings together demand drivers on one hand, which comprises of the port and industry players. So basically, they bring the problems, they bring the requirements, they bring the challenges that the industry is facing. And on other side, we have solution providers, which are represented by startups and technology drivers. And these two are supported and coordinated by the research community, which basically promotes research in the maritime institutes and other areas. So why are we talking about Singapore, and why are we trying to understand their maritime innovation ecosystem? Because since past several years, Singapore has been the top ranked maritime cities of the world in terms of in the area of technology. And this is a diagrammatic representation of how the problems and challenges which are faced by industry have been addressed by the startup community, and which has been facilitated by a lot of technology labs and R&D centers and so on. So taking it further, in terms of following the model of Singapore into India, we are, like rightly mentioned by the experts, that we are at we are far behind from the leading maritime countries of the world. So it's very few years that the country has started systematically thinking about developing maritime innovation ecosystem in the country. So our innovation ecosystem, the pillars are around the startups, supporting startups. Has support to the staff has to come from the researchers, innovation labs, centers of excellence, training institutes, and so on. So when we say about ecosystem, we mean that for a startup to launch his business, to grow his business, to survive and to flourish, it cannot happen without an appropriate ecosystem. And this ecosystem development is the responsibility of the state, of the country. And just to make things interesting, I have identified the challenges, the problems, and the opportunities that that we are facing in the maritime sector as of now, with reference to our country. So the participants might, get some sort of insights into it. And also, these problems and challenges are also leading to the creation of ecosystem. So even these are the guiding problems, challenges for the government as well as for the researchers like me. So as of now, we as a country, we do not have maritime or even shipping specific ecosystem, and even the industry coordination. A lot of startups requires a lot of financial support, and so the maritime startups, they struggle in terms of the requirements of funding. So I would just like to make a mention here that overall the startup ecosystem in India is doing quite good with reference to the several policy initiatives that government has initiated since several years. And so in that perspective, the startups are taking a lot of advantage. But because we are specifically talking about the maritime sector, then we have to give a thought that, okay, specifically for maritime sector, we are lagging behind. Specifically, there is a lack of focus on research and innovation in emerging technologies for maritime sector in India. So now when we are talking about new age companies which are technology driven and which have to have innovation in them, we cannot go ahead without appropriate research in emerging technology. So this is the biggest area of concern. So obviously there are a lot of other challenges. I would not like to get into details on account of the less amount of time. And some of them are related to funding as well, like there's a lack of ideation stage seed fund and a lesser number of shipping professionals in the angel investments as well as in other areas. Specifically, like if we take some examples, like then lack of facilities for testing of inland water vessels in shallow water, then testing of marine fuel, lubricants, renewable fuels, autonomous ships is an emerging area that require facilities for developing and testing. So these are all the challenges that the country is facing. So port productivity can be enhanced by the application of latest technology sensors and instruments such as IoT, AI, ML, etc. And so these are the current challenges. Another set of challenges includes requirement to assess the impact of port operations on climate change and dredging related challenges. There are a lot of new ports coming up. There are a lot of existing ports and which are having serious issues with regard to dredging, and believe me, it involves a lot of amount of funding. It involves a lot of amount of expenses, and if dredging is not properly planned, a lot of companies can face serious trouble. So these are all challenges and problems. And when we talk about challenges and problems, I think startup enthusiasts looks opportunities in those challenges and problems. So when anywhere there is a discussion going on about problems, I think those who are startup enthusiasts or those are looking or those who are into startups, they obviously try to find out that how do we address and how do we have our startup on those areas. So same way, lot of other areas where the country is facing problem. And like ports have limited green energy usages. India's share in shipbuilding is very less as compared to leading maritime countries. Existing technologies like virtual simulation and modeling systems, they suffer from lack of adaptation as well as funding as well as human capital. We need a lot of skilled manpower to take care of this. To address these and many more challenges, uh, the, the policy initiatives have been started to be in the formulation stage, and some of them already have taken shape. So basically, it includes government initiatives at central and state level, collaboration between research institutions, universities, as well as industries, and the innovation that comes from the entrepreneurs. So the biggest and most important initiative from government is in terms of the Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways Sagarmala Startup and Innovation Initiative. This is a very broad initiative which basically addresses the idea of bringing in new ideas, and youth to address these problems. The Ministry of Shipping has also launched the Graduate Research Innovation Program some time back. Now, if we talk about this Sagarmala Startup and Innovation Initiative, the idea is to develop India as a maritime innovation hub. And I try to explain that why innovation is so important and how would it do it. So the idea of establishing India as a maritime innovation hub would be done through providing financial support, institutional support, infrastructure support, mentoring support, and access to new markets. And this can be done by partnership and cooperation among government institutions, which includes academic and training institutions, research institutions, and including private sector participation. So, there are quite a few number of research and educational institutions in India which are actively pursuing into this agenda of government. And I have listed a few of this in my presentation. So one of them is Center of Excellence in Maritime and Shipbuilding. So basically this is based in Mumbai and Vizag, and this government initiative, along with Siemens Industries Software India Private Limited and IRS, in line with the Skill India initiative. The aim is to address the areas of CAD, PLM, electrical automation, CNC, and hydraulics. Another institution is National Technology Center for Ports, Waterways, and Coasts. This is basically set up as, this center was basically set up as an incubation center at IIT Madras in 2018. And now it has expanded its operations into several other places also. This is a center for research in areas of technological innovations and evolution of new ideas and breakthroughs. And it also offers several courses which are simulation based as well as classroom based. Another such center is Center for Inland and Coastal Maritime Technology at IIT Kharagpur. Again, this is set up by the ministry under Sagarmala program, and basically the idea is the Indian shipbuilders are dependent on the West for testing and experimentation facilities. So this center is envisaged to support those challenges. To add to the existing lists, Gujarat Maritime University is also part of government endeavor, and Gujarat Maritime University is established by government of Gujarat through Gujarat Maritime Board in 2019. As of now, Gujarat Maritime University is offering full-time degree programs in management as well as in law. Also, we are offering the executive diploma programs as well as PhD programs, again in the domain of management and law. Talking specifically with reference to the startup support system, the Gujarat government's initiative called the Student Startup and Innovation Policy is a very successful initiative of government of Gujarat. So this policy has helped create a favorable environment in the state. So Gujarat Maritime University is getting funding through this SSIP of government, and a lot of initiatives have been taken up, and a few more initiatives will be taken up, including research conferences, workshops, etc., to promote startups and entrepreneurship culture. The faculty members at GMU have been from IIM and Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India and so on. And there is a lot of collaboration, international collaboration as well, to bring in the understanding and expertise from all over the world, offering education at Gandhinagar, Gujarat. Taking this concept forward, the industry and academia collaboration is in terms of there have been several such initiatives like the National Technology Center for Ports, Waterways, Coasts, which I mentioned. They have partnered with IIT Madras to support maritime startups through funding, incubation, and mentorship. GMU is also supporting the current students for startups and related research. Indian Maritime University is also playing a very important role in India in terms of promoting maritime entrepreneurship through its various campuses and research centers. If we take few examples of industry supports, then the Cochin Shipyard has initiated this Marine Startup Engagement Program in collaboration with IIT Madras. Garden Reach Shipbuilders have launched recently this GRSE Accelerated Innovation Nurturing Scheme, which is basically to identify and encourage the development of innovative solutions. So, key institutional, I will just get into the conclusion slides that under this Sagarmala initiative, the key institutional initiatives which are planned, these are the policy initiatives at government level to ensure that the maritime innovation and startup ecosystem is in place, and so research is the focus, and the challenges and problems that are faced by industry in India are addressed through this research. So you can see summary on the screen that one of the very important part is to establish innovation labs. So IMU will be establishing 8 labs, and you can see the areas: NTC, PwC, CEMS, and CICT. They have been given specific agenda to establish labs, and they are into various areas, which is so wide that you can see it includes IoT in maritime sector, deep and shallow water seakeeping and maneuvering basing labs, simulation, marine robotics, and so on. So with this all in place, I think the current lacuna that we have in terms of research and innovation should be addressed. Apart from that, to address the fund crisis, there will be an establishing of Maritime Research Fund. Different ministries will be offering Blue Economy Research Fellowships, research collaboration with leading national and international universities. Establishing of Maritime Knowledge Cluster is an important initiative, and that is how the problems and challenges faced by industries will be addressed. So a ideal innovation or startup ecosystem is such wherein the current day problems which are faced are addressed by the new age companies using technology, and that's how startups comes into picture. And you can see this in ecosystem. Even my university is there, such as idea is to have the National Marine Acceleration Center. So idea is to combine the different efforts and initiatives at different levels in the country, bringing them on a on a single unified platform, so as to address the current day challenges and helping to bring up a lot of new age startups which are based on technology. So that's it from my side. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dharmesh. I think I was not aware of so many initiatives which are already there in the maritime entrepreneurship space. But I'm not sure how many of them are operational. But in fact, just having a plan of having so many labs to be coming up in by these many universities or just the companies is in itself quite good. Even if 50% of it happens, or if all of it happens, it's well and good. Even if 50% of it happens, I think it'll be really good.
Right. So these are very recent. This have been planned out just a couple of years back. So so that's why it has not reached. And I think it will take some time, but it should happen, I believe so.
Right. I think the plan is there. It'll happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's important that all of us who are interested into this particular space should be aware of. And otherwise, I don't think even if a person Googles that much, a person would be able to find out what all venues are there. So thank you for doing that research and providing us with all of that information. I also understand that GMU is planning to do a conference in the near future. wherein you would like to have various stakeholders involved and talk more about it and possibly do some kind of pitching and awards for people who are interested or who are planning to have their own startup.
Absolutely, that's the idea, because it's not only the students but a lot of involvement from industry and those leading corporates. If they come together, a lot of new developments can happen.
Correct. So let me take one quick poll from everyone on how many of you would be interested in this Maritime Entrepreneurship Conference. And those who are interested, how many of you would be, in what capacity would you be wanting to involve yourself in? So the poll should be on your screen. And after this poll, immediately we'll have Mr. Anil come in and he'll talk about one maritime tech startup which is upcoming and which is into the commercial space. So we'll have a quick 5 minutes talk on that, and then we'll open it up for Q&As, and then that'll be it. I know we are exceeding the time, but I think it's been very, very, very interesting talks that we've had from all the presenters. I've been totally involved. So a little bit more participation from the audience, please. We've got about 70% who have voted. Okay, I'll end the poll and I'm sharing results. So Dr. Dharmesh, I guess you've got about 91% of the audience who would like to be coming for the conference. Out of the people, we've got 30% as prospective founders, 30% is prospective investors, and some for just information or as a possible advisor. All right. Thanks, audience, for your inputs. And over to you, Anil, for informing us about IME, please. You're on mute, I guess, if you're speaking.
Yeah. So, Gaurav, we are, no, I'm backing from ATM Ventures platform. I'm backing IME. This is a new venture started by Kunal, who is one of the few handful of people in India who are experts in commercial shipping, uh, you know, attorney and legal matters. And this is a very, very good, very ambitious project by Kunal. And here, as the name suggests, integrated maritime exchange. So whole idea that his vision is to create a platform where shipping industry stakeholders can come together live and exchange information. It can be in terms of booking the making bookings live, making rates available live onto the platform. It's basically a what we can say market platform for the shipping industry, and he is planning to do it by introducing various tools to facilitate maritime industry stakeholders. For example, the first tool that he's made is a laytime calculator. What I know is laytime calculator, it's done in Excel sheets as of now, and calculation is done in Excel sheets. It takes some time. He has brought in a tool where he not only helps the calculation of lay time within few minutes, targeting in 1 to 2 minutes, by putting, by scanning, his AI tool will scan all the term sheets between the, ship owner and the cargo and the shipping ship platform, the commercial shipper, and calculate the lay time, looking closely into the term sheet that they have, various clauses that are having implication in the lay time, and also helping them settle the claims basis this AI tool, within a short period of time. So there is a huge efficiency and productivity added to this lay time calculation, complete functioning that happens. Similarly, he's going to, he's bringing in a voyage estimator as a tool. So he's planning to come up with about 15 to 16 tools, bringing them together and gather data. There is huge amount of data which shipping industry generates, which is not tapped into for the benefit of industry stakeholders. And AI is a tool which will facilitate and enhance the efficiency and productivity of working in the shipping industry through these AI tools by using the database that has been generated, which is not utilized as of now for the purpose of enhancing the predictability, of optimizing the supply chain, or automation, from manual to automation, changeover of the functioning. So this is a very, very promising, the venture platform that he's creating. And we are as a venture, ATM Ventures platform, we are backing it up. And our investors network is, we are crowdfunding from our investor network the first round of 3 CR. And I will be happy to invite all your audience interested to explore this opportunity, which is backed by IIT Roorkee and IIM Lucknow, and also been selected by various other IPB platform, which is a VC platform. But they have decided not to go ahead with that because of the term sheet is not very conducive for them. And that I liked about founder. He's so confident that money is coming. He's not taking that money because he's not seeing it very healthy money for the venture itself. And as I understand, he's already interacted, he's already pitched it idea to big corporates for adopting this tool, say lay time calculator itself. And it's been the it's been run by these clients of the IME successfully, and they are now putting in efforts to make it a technology investment is being done to make it a scalable uh, tool available for the industry. And we'll be happy to facilitate the all these audience to participate in the first of all the pitch session that we are going to organize on ATM Ventures platform, and then facilitate crowd investment with a small ticket size of 5 lakh rupees, minimum into the venture for a 3 crore round.
Thank you so much, Anil. A quick word from Kunal, Captain Kunal, who is the co-founder over here. Been know Kunal for quite some time, and he's worked in UK in Baltic Exchange himself. He runs an educational company as well, and this is a technology setup wherein he has a very good person who's managing the technology as well. Great vision. This is something which, honestly, which I believe mostly the foreign companies have developed similar platforms, but um, uh, and and which are very, very, very costly, and they have their own. Um, uh, 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 I mean, they kind of not so client friendly is what I understand, if I may say so. So knowing Kunal, I think this could be a good opportunity, but at the same time, as Dhruv said, whenever you are investing, please do a due diligence. Startups, but just by the nature of them, there will be some risk involved. So, and for that, due diligence is where Anil comes in. He and his company has done the due diligence, and I think Kunal, Anil, the company will be happy to have around with whosoever who's interested in knowing more about the company. What are they going to offer? What are the possibilities in terms of exit? In terms of what they are doing, what their plans are. I think that'll take about at least an hour of presentation. So whosoever is interested, can of course plan to invest. I have put a poll over here, which should be on your screen, that if you are interested in any maritime tech startup, just write yes, and we'll share your information with the Anil, and who can then tell you when is the next pitching round happening, so that you guys can attend it and then have a well-informed decision in terms of your investments. After we finish the poll, we'll then take up the Q&As. I've got a few direct messages as well. We are recording this webinar, and to all those who have registered for the webinar, we will share the recordings as well. So I think we'll probably take another 15 minutes to check out all the questions and give them answers and answer them, and then we'll close the session. I see in terms of the poll, got 57% are interested in the tech startup, in investment, and for 40% need more information. So I'll end this poll over here, and we'll move to the Q&As. Okay. So I think Harshal's question is more to do with angel investor. If a person wants to become an angel investor, and Anil, one is listening to the pitches. Is there a program? Is there a course? Is there a formal way of becoming an angel investor? I guess that's the summary of his question.
Yeah.
Would you know of that, Anil?
There are many platforms out there who are doing this venture funding to these startups. So there are two ways. One is very early stage. Normally it has happening like we form a special purpose vehicle where we invite investors to come together, crowdfund a startup where the ticket sizes are small. Suppose somebody is new to the ecosystem and they want to test the ecosystem by investing at least 5 lakh rupees, small ticket size. When we talk about investing into a startup entrepreneur, 5 lakh is considered a small ticket size, and we recommend that you should earmark at least 25 lakh rupees into this kind of investment, angel investment, and spread it over five to 10 companies with a 5 lakh ticket size at least. And this we, as a platform for crowdfunding facilitation, we bring them formally onto the SPV as co-owners with us, with all the other investors. And on behalf of investors, that SPV invests into the startup on the cap table. And if some investor wants to have direct access into the equity, that has to have at least 25 lakh rupees investment into the startups. Normally, this is conventional, and then they will have direct access. Otherwise, the beginners can have a small ticket size investment through the SPV route. So we facilitate that through the SPV, which is a legal entity where they become co-owners with us as investors.
essentially what you're saying is if you invest about 25 lakhs, your name comes in the cap table, and
So
otherwise,
normally startup founders will not entertain small ticket size into the cap table because that is not recommended also from the point of view of keeping their cap table very clean, from the point of view of professional investor platforms coming into invest into these entrepreneurs. Uh, so the one of the criteria VC firm will look at is who is investing into and what is the kind of ticket size that they are investing in. Is it so crowded? Because if a small ticket size, uh, so many number of investors come onto the cap table, it is difficult to manage the cap table, difficult to cater to the needs of the investors. So crowdfunding is becomes the obvious choice for entrepreneur to get opportunity access to the small ticket size investors. And then ATM Ventures, like I told you, is facilitating. So ATM Venture collectively represents the investors' interest into the cap table of enterprise.
great. And so with the creation of this SPV, and this is answering to Mayur's question, whether someone can invest with 5 to 10 lakhs. I think with the creation of that SPV, a person with even 5 lakhs can also invest in the startups.
Yes, yes.
Correct. Good to know. Now, in terms of, I don't see any other questions coming in, so maybe I'll have a couple of questions to you, Anil. Um, uh, so do you education wise, right? So once a person is interested, right, what is the process? So for example, now if there are say about 15 people who are keen, now what are the next steps? How do they get educated? How do they read more about it? How do you help them in terms of the next steps then?
So first of all, we come up with the opportunity. We scout for the opportunity. That is one, the value that we are delivering. Second, we facilitate collective investment into the enterprise through SPV. That again is a legal process that we facilitate for the investors. Third, then we do due diligence. Scouting means we do due diligence with the company, and then we because we are part of the stakeholder in the startup ecosystem, any kind of interventions are required for the growth of the company, for running of the company, resource alignment, that also we facilitate. That is again a value that we that goes benefiting to the investors. And then periodically they need to understand what the company is doing, how it is performing. That also report we have to report it to the investors. This is the value again we offer to the investors too. And then fourth is that how do they get an exit? So we, as we are facilitating, the journey of the entrepreneur development. So we, being a network of investors, we also keep scouting for opportunities for new next round of investments, for next round of new investors to come in and bring in professional VC platforms to invest into this enterprise in the next rounds. So that gives a facility for the investors to have an opportunity to exit also by selling their stake to the new set of investors coming in.
One more question, Anil. What is the time frame that a person should look at when a person is investing in a startup? What's the horizon?
So as I told you, as an angel investor in the early stages, it normally takes for a startup really to investor to get an exit in at least 3 to 5 years time. It can happen before that also. Depends, like for example, Bharat Pay company, it became unicorn in 2.5 years time, right? So that is an exceptional case. But normally a unicorn will be, it is reducing the duration for enterprises to become unicorn, it is reducing from 10 years to now 5, 6, 7 years also. So it is gradually reducing. But yes, for early stage investors, they stay put for at least 3 to 5 years for getting a good multiplier out of their money.
All right, great. Fine, I think Dhruv has left. Otherwise, I had a question for him as well. Fine, I think one final question to you, Dr. Dharmesh. How do you feel the next in the coming times? How is it for the maritime entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I think we started this webinar with a discussion that we are lagging behind, in terms of competing with other countries, and I see a lot of awareness coming up. I think that's the most important thing that's happening. Otherwise, business is growing, but a growing awareness means that a lot of initiatives that we have would be finding a lot of takers for those initiatives. So I believe that if we focus on the new age companies and technology and innovation, I think it looks bright to me.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Dharmesh. I'm launching one final poll in terms of the feedback for the webinar. Please let us know, were your expectations met? Was the session useful for you? And how would you rate the session? Also, please feel free to write in terms of anything extra that you may want to have in such webinars. We'll be more than happy, and any improvements that you would have liked. All right. Mayur's question is the investment or small ticket investment open for any other companies as well? Let Anil answer that question. Anil, are you only focused on maritime companies, or you're open for others as well?
We are open for other companies also. We keep investing into scouting opportunities. So as of now, we will be immediately presenting this opportunity, and then over we intermittently through you we can access your audience for presenting other opportunities also.
All right, great.
Sir, I have one question, Captain Gaurav.
Yeah.
Possible to summarize once what we have discussed? Actually, I'm sorry I joined late. I was busy with some other meeting with superintendent. So can you please just summarize what was the core of this whole seminar? And just if you have to say in 5 minutes, then how can you summarize this, please?
All right, great, Captain Ashwath. So essentially, what I would say is investment in startups is very rewarding, but equally there is risk to it. So if you have to invest, you have to mitigate those risks, right? Now, how do you mitigate those risks is you yourself have to be extremely well read. If you cannot be well read yourself, you have to take the help of advisors, right? So that's where Anil comes in with his company, because he does a lot of due diligence, right? So what he explained is, how do you do the due diligence in a very quick manner, but I think it has to be done in a much more detailed manner as such. So that's point number one. Point two is, we had Captain Dhruv's journey, who's the co-founder in Shipskart, on how he developed. So he actually went and incubated the idea with a couple of incubators, and then he got funding from friends and family, and then he got the seed round, and then the Series A as well. And then what Dr. Dharmesh discussed was in terms of how India is in the maritime entrepreneurship. And honestly, there were a lot of initiatives which are happening in India. I wasn't aware of them, and I'm sure many others wouldn't be. So you'll need to process that slide, that video, to understand what are the opportunities in India for entrepreneurs which are in the maritime space. That's about 10 minutes of slides or video for you. So bottom, invest in startups if you have, I mean, that much ability to take that risk, right? That money to take that risk, but do a lot of due diligence and go with someone who is much more, into this space, who's much more learned in this particular space.
Okay, understood. So, for example, if a common man he invest in stock markets, he has a demat account and he buy IPO. And what I understood is this is an asset management company. Like we buy something through this company, right? So I just want to know, like, what is the security? For example, demat account we have, we can access to that account, we can see the stocks. But if we invest in this company, how we are going to know, like, what is the return happening, which company we are investing? Because if we buy a mutual fund, then many companies, we buy stocks of many companies, right? If we give money to any asset management
Very good
company, they
question, Ashwath. So I think, Anil, if you could advise on this, how's the
So,
visibility and security?
yeah, this equities listed, investment is a listed investment option, which is quite regulated by SEBI. And angel investment is also regulated by SEBI only. There are two ways to invest into startups. One is through directly you find a founder and then invest into it. Second is through the professionals like us, where we do the due diligence and then collectively invest into the startup by crowdfunding through with our investor network. And we may use the SEBI approved fund, angel fund, for this purpose, or we may not use this. There is a cost implication in SEBI approved angel fund. There that route will cost them 2% annualized expense out of their investment, and also some kind of profit sharing, uh, higher profit sharing, in terms of the platform will take 20% or so of their profits as their share. And crowdfunding platform like ATM Ventures, we are offering a collective platform for investors, wherein they become co-owners along with us as an investors to invest into that company, where the cost implication comes very low. So otherwise, every investment is a legal investment. So the SPV route is a legal entity which will be investing on behalf of investors. Collectively, actually, investors will be investing through SPV into that particular enterprise. Or if they were routed through SP vehicle of a venture capital fund, then it will be directly under the purview of SEBI also.
Okay, Mr. Anil. So, as I understood that this will be like acting like we buy units of mutual fund, right? If we give 5
Yeah,
lakh
it is like
rupees.
yeah, it is like, suppose there are 100 investors into that particular special purpose vehicle entity, and they collectively invest into their company. Then in pro rata basis, their units will be allocated to the investors, and pro rata basis profits will be shared when exit
Okay,
happens.
so my question is, there are hundreds of mutual fund companies, right, in market. So why we should trust you and not to buy like some big mutual fund company like Motilal Oswal or something like that?
So the
What
mutual
is the
fund company
difference between you?
mutual fund companies are different. That is a asset management company license. That these are big. They are mostly dealing in listed investments, right? Listed companies. So this is a private equity, because these are not listed companies. So that doesn't come under the mutual fund category.
So what is the
It's a
security
private equity.
then? Okay,
Security. This is a legal entity. So legal entity is regulated by the company law or the
Okay, company law. Okay,
regulation.
understood. Okay, thank you.
All right.
And one more thing, how we are going to track the investment? Like every month you will be giving us report, or online it is showing how?
Normally, it is quarterly to 6 months time that report is generated, and that is shared with investors.
Okay, thank you.
There's a question from Shakul who messaged me, and this is to you, Anil. Is there any charges for investment?
So as I told you, there are two platforms. One is crowdfunding through non-SEBI regulated entity. Their charges are very minimal. Initially on the setup cost, maybe 2% will be charged. That also uh, depending upon investors' mutual discussions, we can reduce further also. And for angel funds, which are SEBI regulated angel funds, there the costs are higher, 4% initially and 2% annually for the investors to bear. And carry, that is profit sharing, also happens at a higher rate. So it is little costlier. So both the ways are open, available for the investors. They can choose. So if the investors are comfortable, uh, collectively owning that SPV and investing, then also it is okay. Or they want to route it through some venture capital fund which is SEBI regulated. That also route is available for them.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I think Rakesh has a question on what are the returns expected in 5 years. Rakesh, that's very difficult to answer. Yeah, it could be as Anil showed, it could be 2000%. It could be zero as well. So
Yeah, it depends. It depends entirely, but normally, any angel investor who invests into, experienced angel investor, read angel investor who are experienced, they expect at least 3 to 5 times of their money in 3 to 5 years time. At least that is bare minimum that they expect. But there are companies who give 200 times in 3 years time, 5 years time. It depends, how the
So
company.
one question I had, see, if I have to invest in some company, I'll see the past track record, right? So may I know, like, what is like how
So
many
for
years you have been working?
so for startup ecosystem, any enterprise, if at early stage, there won't be any kind of track record of that company. So it will be all depending upon how much due diligence in terms of assessing that company on 23, 25 parameters has been done by the intervention that we are doing, like ATM Venture is doing. I know it all depends upon you depend upon the assessment of the advisors who are helping you invest into that company.
Yeah, so for us, you are the advisor, right? We are paying
Yes.
you. So we want to know, like, what is your performance in past few years?
So I had been into this ecosystem for last 4.5 years time, and I had been part of the venture capital platform, which has invested in more than 350 companies in last 6 years. And that kind of experience, and I'm continuously engaged into the startup ecosystem. I'm already partnered with the $200 million fund, which is investing into mature companies, which are 7, 8, 8, 9 years old companies. And given that kind of exposure, if you feel confident with us, you can meet in person with me also. Then you will be most welcome to join hands with us.
So Ashwath and everyone, we'll have another round of discussion. Those who are interested, they can listen to what IME has to offer and what Anil views are on that particular company or other companies as well. We'll have a separate discussion, which we will tell all of you. In case you don't receive any email from us, you can write to us on education@cnbeyond.com as well.
Yes.
Uh, Again, Captain Mitesh, we'll have a separate session only on IME. SPV full form is Special Purpose Vehicle. IME, we'll have a separate discussion, a detailed one, wherein all your queries can be answered, and wherein we'll also involve Captain Kunal, who is the co-founder of the company. Right. So all of those who have any queries, who need any inputs or who want to give any feedback, you may please email to education@cnbeyond.com, and we'll take it forward to IME, to Mr. Anil and other relevant parties involved. Just to let everyone know, CN Beyond is just acting as a knowledge partner over here. We do not have any commercial interest into any of these activities. So just this is only for your information basis. I think we're more or less done with the webinar. A lot of you stayed, 35 of you stayed, more than 50% stayed for the entire 2 hours plus. Thank you, Anil ji, for your time.
Thank you.
Is Captain Dhruv and from Dharmesh sir has also left. But thanks all of you. Thanks all the attendees for staying back for so long. Thanks for your time, and feel free to write to us in case you have any doubts. I'll end the session now.